Hi, welcome to our US DDS interview sprint. In the next 4 videos, we will break down the elements that you can expect from an interview in a dental program here in the US. We will also help you understand the goal behind each element's questions, as well as, most importantly, tell you how you can ace those questions. Now, what are the elements to expect? Well, generally speaking, you can expect to have some behavioral questions, some profile-based questions, some clinical questions, as well as ethical scenarios. We will briefly walk you through each element in each one of our videos. And in the final video of our series, you will get to hear example responses for each element. So stay tuned. Today, we're going to tackle the behavioral component of your interview. Simply said, these questions are about you. Now, in our experience, these questions tend to make people worried or even sometimes uncomfortable. So let's just jump right into it and debunk a few myths surrounding these questions, as well as understand the purpose behind this very important component of your interview. Myth number 1. When asked to tell about myself, I must fit in my whole dental experience. Short answer, no you don't. The interviewers probably already know all about your application and all about your clinical journey. But you know what works instead? The story approach. What is it? Introduce yourself by telling a tale from your past, and then you can pepper in any significant dental experience if it's relevant and if you'd like to. Now remember that this question is generally the first question that you would be asked. The reason the story approach is important is because it will allow the interviewers to remember you. And that's our biggest advice. A quick tip here to get you started if you just don't know what story you're gonna use when asked to tell about yourself. Step number 1, take a piece of paper. Write down 3 words that come up in your mind when you think about yourself. Set that aside. Step number 2, make a list of 10 people that you know well and ask them what 3 words they think of when they think about you. Step number 3, note the similarities between all of those 10 responses. And finally, the last step, you want to compare those similarities with your own 3 words. Now, what's the purpose behind this exercise? First things first, you are the expert on yourself. You know yourself best. But that's not actually the point or goal of this exercise. The purpose is that being able to see how others view you against how you view yourself, that will help identify how others remember you. And remember, the whole point and the best way to ace this question is to give the interviewer a story to remember you. So by going through this exercise, you will surely find a tale in your life that you can use to answer the question, tell me about yourself. Now try it out and tell us how it worked. Myth number 2. When asked about leadership, I must not quote an example from early undergrad. Short answer, false. First, for any question that you get during your interview, unless the interviewer specifically asks about a specific time in your life, you are free to use any example to answer the question, even an example from early undergrad. All that you should remember is that you want your example to be relevant, strong, and memorable. Now, when tackling a question about leadership, our first tip is to first ask yourself, what does the interviewer want to know here? Why is the interviewer asking about leadership? Well, generally speaking, the interviewer wants to know how you lead others in the face of challenge, how you motivate others. But they also want to know what kind of leader you want to be. Now, even more specific to dental school, They want to know, by asking you questions about leadership, they want to know what's your potential as a dentist who will lead and who will be responsible for patients, staff, and running an entire practice. Okay, if you're still on the fence about those leadership questions, here's a quick mini exercise to get you started. Simply make note of 2 or 3 individuals, you don't have to know them, but that you view as good leaders. And then just ask yourself a few questions. What makes these people good leaders? What are the qualities that they have that makes them those good leaders? Now, going through this exercise, in one hand, will help you identify the qualities that resonate with you and that you would probably want to have if you don't already. But the true purpose behind this mini exercise is that it will help you identify and build that leadership story that you want to convey during your interview. Now, go ahead, try it out, and then make sure that you let us know how it works for you.
Hi, let's move on to the third myth. When asked about motherhood, I should speak as little as possible. No. Now, this is a question that a lot of our applicants come back to us and ask us about. Motherhood or parenthood is a big part of your life, and if that's something that you would like to use to answer certain questions in your interview or project as a part of your personality, please go ahead. Remember that in the US, what they're looking for is to hear about your personal stories, what moves you, what touches you, and what makes you you. So don't shy away from sharing anecdotes and learnings from such a meaningful time of your life if you want to, just because you think that it might be an inconvenience or too personal. Okay? The only thing to remember here, the only advice we have is this: analyze beforehand the kind of person you want to be remembered as by the interviewer. You want to be remembered for your strong clinician qualities, or maybe your strong analytical and leadership skills from your research experience, or maybe you want to be projected as that dentist who has, who is a transformed person now, or who is a more empathetic doctor because of your experience as a parent. Now, any of this is fine, but decide what you want to be projected as, and then from there onwards, prepare all your answers or prepare all your experiences in such a way that you steer the course of your interview to tell them that this is who you are. The best way to debunk all the existing myths about interview, which are quite a lot, is to trace back to the source, right? Think, why you, the interviewee, being asked these questions? What is the reason? To understand the kind of person you are, to understand what you value the most, how would you handle a particular situation, and more importantly, how do you connect with a fellow human being? And what's the best way to show them this? Reflect first. Reflect on yourself and reflect on your story. And don't tie yourself down to any preconceived notions. It's not worth it. It's definitely not worth it. Do your research on the school, of course. What are they looking for and how does that fit into your requirements? But don't let that get into the process of you displaying your true self, because that's the most important. And only if you take that time to work on yourself and to understand what you want, are you actually going to truly connect with the interviewer. And the more you are yourself, the freer you will be. And the freer you are, the more confident and the more pleasant. And the more all of that, the better your conversation with the interviewer. And that is what you're looking for. Hope this helped you guys, and if it did, subscribe for more content on our channel and stay tuned for our last video in this series where we will be handling an actual question where you get to see what might be the best way to answer a behavioral question at the interview. Take care. Bye-bye.